Planning Commission meeting. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Today's meeting was noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. This commission acts in review and recommending capacity for comprehensive plan amendments, text amendments to the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance, rezonings, and plan developments. The commission has decision-making authority on name change requests, public project reviews, appeals of administrative decisions on final plats and subdivision matters, as well as other matters pursuant to Chapter 29, Title 6, Section 6-29-340 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina as amended. If you wish to speak at today's meeting, please fill out the sign-in sheet by the door. I'm Cindy Floyd. I'm the chair. For those of you who cannot see the nameplates, to my right, Commissioner Pete Pelotas, Luke Morris, Marlena Davis, and Adam McConnell. To my left, Commissioners David Kent, Warwick Jones, Logan Davis, and our newest commissioner, Ms. Susan Cox. Ms. Cox has lived in Charleston for 9 years and has previously worked in commercial real estate finance and currently works in residential real estate. She has volunteered and chaired several committees with the Charleston Junior League and has served on the board of her children's elementary school. Help us welcome Commissioner Cox. Also seated to my right is Commission Attorney Mark Bell, and seated to my left is Joel Evans, the Director of Zoning and Planning. Joel, would you please introduce the staff that's present?
Sure. Andrea Melisick, the Deputy Director of the Planning Department, Emily Wynn, as well as Emily Pickett, who was doing the sign-in sheets out front if you signed up. We also have Marche Miller and Monica Eustace, and we also have Wynn Carlisle in the audience. He's works at our permitting desk right now. And also Walt Smalls, the Deputy County Administrator for General Services.
Okay, thank you. I would like to remind you that in order to get a good recording of the meeting for the minutes, please speak loudly and clearly into your microphones, and please do not talk over one another. Your first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from November 13th, 2003. Is there a motion and a second?
Second.
If there's a correction, when does that come? If there's a correction, when does that come?
Right now?
Right now? Okay. I'm
Which one were
listed
you?
as,
Here
is a
or not?
correction. I'm listed as present and absent. Both of those, I was only absent.
And I think David Kent
was absent,
does the
yes.
same. All right. The next agenda item is a review of changes made by County Council to the proposed ZLDR text amendments related to traffic impact studies. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. We need to vote on the minutes.
Yes.
Would you call the roll, please? Thank you.
Mr. Logan Davis,
Aye.
Ms. Marlena Davis,
Abstain.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Mr. Jones,
Aye.
Mr. Kent,
Abstain.
Mr. McConnell,
Aye.
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Pilatos,
Aye.
and Ms. Cox.
Since I was not here, I abstain. Abstain.
The ayes have it.
The next agenda item is a review of changes made by County Council to the proposed ZLDR text amendments related to traffic impact studies. Are you going to, is there a presentation?
Yeah, we do have, I think we're getting some technical help here. Yeah.
It's on dual screen, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is just an addition to the edit that Planning Commission saw earlier. There was a change made, so we're bringing it back to Planning Commission and basically adding in there where the Public Works Director has the right to waive the requirement of traffic impact studies for SCDOT right-of-way only.
As well as, was that as well as
As well as,
the county?
no, it's just DOT right-of-way.
DOT,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Is that because there's no jurisdiction over that, or what's the reason?
The reasoning behind it was that the Planning and Public Works Director did not want to be in a position where he was disagreeing with what the DOT was requiring for a traffic impact study. So, so that's where that came from.
This is coming from council.
Yes, and from the Public Works Director. Yeah.
Yes, for public comment.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll now hear public comment. And do we have the sign-in sheet so we can, did anybody sign up?
I think. Melinda Luca? Did you sign? Oh, you didn't want to speak? Okay, all right. So no.
All right. Is there a motion and a second from the commission?
Move that the accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
I guess I have a question. I'm just trying to figure out where this would be applied. I would assume that it would only be for, like, if it triggers the 5 acres or more, that's where they're concerned about need. Like, so the Public Works Director is concerned about having a disagreement with SCDOT, which is why this is being requested, and this would only be required by Public Works if they were disturbing more than 5 acres.
No, if you look at the entire ordinance on the screen there, you'll see that there are triggers for traffic impact studies. 100 or more vehicle trips, drive-through service, more than 6 fuel dispensing units, on to number 8. That's required by ordinance, and the Public Works Director just wants the ability to be able to waive the requirement of a traffic impact study is if during the review and approval process, DOT says that a traffic impact study may not be needed for one of those.
Is this just for DOT roads or for all roads?
DOT right-of-way,
Okay.
yes.
So this is just to clean up confusion between
Correct.
the county and SCDOT.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
That's correct.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay. I'll call the roll.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell, Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Pilatos,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cox.
Nay.
The ayes have it.
These amendments will be heard again by the Planning and Public Works Committee at their December 21st, 2023 meeting, and will receive first reading at the January 9th, 2024 County Council meeting. The next agenda item is a request to rezone tax map number 614-09-00-20-023 from low-density manufactured housing subdivision zoning district to the residential office zoning district. I have a staff presentation.
Yep.
Anybody sign up to speak on this one?
Yes. I don't know if they check. I don't know. I would just call all of them looks like only one person. I think it's just like that.
Ashley Rule.
Yeah. Cindy Megan Hendricks.
West.
Looks like glass.
Need a keyboard so they can.
This is a request to rezone TMS 614-19-00023 at 188 Macoma Drive from the low-density manufactured housing subdivision zoning district to the residential office zoning district to establish a commercial guest house short-term rental property. Prior to 2001, the subject property was zoned low-density suburban zoning district, and then upon the adoption of the 2001 ZLDR, the property was zoned low-density manufactured housing subdivision zoning district. In July of 2022, the Board of Zoning Appeals approved a special exception request to establish short-term rental use for an extended home rental on the property. The applicant obtained the appropriate zoning permit and a business license and established the extended home rental on the subject property. Both the zoning permit and the business license are currently up to date. In September 2023, the applicant approached staff to inquire about rezoning to establish a commercial guest house short-term rental use in order to be allowed unlimited rental days each calendar year. The applicant was notified a rezoning would be required and submitted an application to rezone to the residential office zoning district where commercial guest houses can be allowed with conditions. Here is the location of the subject property when looking at the county as a whole. The future land use designation for this parcel is urban, suburban, cultural, community protection. The current zoning for this parcel is low-density manufactured housing subdivision zoning district and is currently developed with a modular single-family detached residence. Properties to the north, east, and west are zoned low-density manufactured housing subdivision zoning district and developed with either modular or manufactured residences. To the south is the Stratton Place subdivision within the town of Mount Pleasant jurisdiction, and they are developed with single-family detached homes. The property is located within the flood zone AE. This is an aerial view to the north, aerial view to the south. These are photos of the subject parcel and adjacent property. It's another photo of the adjacent property and also properties across Macoma. This slide shows a comparison of the allowed land uses in the current MHS zoning and the requested RO zoning. Uses with a C are allowed with conditions, and uses with an S require special exception approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals. The proposed request for the commercial guest house is an allowed use with conditions in the requested residential office zoning district. Staff found that the proposed zoning district does not align with the urban, suburban, cultural, community protection future land use designation. In addition, the allowed land uses within the proposed zoning district are inconsistent with the existing single-family neighborhood land use pattern. Just as a note, in the presentation, it says that the 10 Mile community is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It is not listed on the NRHP, but it is eligible for listing according to the 2016 Charleston County Historic Resources Survey update. The proposed residential office zoning district will change the density, intensity, and dimensional standards of the property and may allow uses that are detrimental to the surrounding community. Approval criteria C and D are not applicable, and therefore the staff finds that approval criteria has not been met, and staff recommends disapproval. One letter in opposition to the request was received, and the meeting was notified as required. Thank you.
Thank the staff for that comprehensive presentation. We'll now hear from the public. Sandy Quast. I believe you're the applicant. Would you please come and give us your name and address?
My name is Sandy Quast, and my address, 1588 Macoma Drive is my second home, so that's the address I put on there, but I live in Myrtle Beach. The address at the very beginning of this was incorrect, though. It said 188 Macoma Drive. It's 1588 Macoma Drive, which is correct on this handout. Okay, so the property right now, can I just speak freely then? Okay, the property right now is short-term rental, so it has 144 nights of short-term rental allowed, and I'm allowed to have unlimited if it's 30 days or more. So currently, right now, I have a tenant in there for 2.5 months. Primarily, most people that inquire about the property want to stay there for, college graduations at the Citadel or something like that for maybe a couple weeks at a time. Most people aren't staying there as long as 30 days, and there are hospitals nearby, so I could do traveling nurses and such. But if I'm able to do more than 144 nights, 2/3 of the year would be available more than are right now, because right now it's only 1/3 of the year that's available for short-term rental, and then I'd be able to use the property more myself as well. Basically, it's still residential. There's nobody going to be like running an office out of there, which it sounds like with this change of zoning, but it's people, just regular people living in there like there is right now, and otherwise the house would be potentially either vacant for 2/3 of the year, or it would have longer-term tenants in there. But I want the ability to be able to do it short-term rental, so I could use the house more myself, and people who need it for the area, if they want to come for graduations and things like that. They come, if they have family at MUSC, they might stay for a couple weeks, but they don't necessarily stay for 30 days or more.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ashley Rule signed up. Did she want to speak? Okay. And what about Megan Hendricks? No? Okay. The discussion is closed for public comment. Is there a motion and a second from the commission?
There's no comment, no further comment. I'll move that we accept the staff's recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion from commission members or any questions for the staff? Okay. It's time for the vote. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Logan Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis.
Aye.
Chair Floyd.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Kent.
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell.
Aye.
Commissioner Morris.
Aye.
Commissioner Pilatos.
Aye.
And Commissioner Cox.
This is just to confirm, this is to, I could hardly hear, to accept staffed recommendation. Yes.
Correct.
Thank you. Aye.
Okay.
Just a reminder to the planning commissioners, if you could turn your mics on, especially if you're going to, we might be able to catch the vote, but if you're going to say something on one of the cases, remember to just put your mic on so we can get a good recording of it, that's all.
The ayes have it.
Ready for the vote? They did the vote, okay. The County Council will hear this request at their public hearing on January 9th, 2024 at 6:30 in council chambers, and again at their January 25th, 2024 Planning and Public Works Committee meeting at 5 p.m. The request must then undergo 3 readings for approval at council's discretion. The next agenda item is rezoning of the properties within the 10-mile community historic district zoned low-density residential and urban residential to the special management zoning district. Have a staff presentation, please.
Thank you very much. So at the November 14th County Council meeting, Council voted for staff to process a rezoning of the low-density residential R4 zoning district and urban residential UR zone properties within the 10-mile community historic district to the special management S3 zoning district. The 10-mile community is located within the Awendaw area of unincorporated Charleston County. The 10-mile community historic district, which was adopted in June of 2022, includes 458 properties. The community is divided by the urban growth boundary, placing a portion of 10 Mile within the urban suburban area of the county and another section within the rural area of the county. So this map shows the 10 Mile Community Historic District in its entirety. This map shows the current zoning within the urban suburban area of 10 Mile. So the properties shown in yellow here are zoned R4 low density residential and total 320 parcels. There are also 4 properties shown in maroon, which are zoned urban residential UR, and properties where the aerial imagery is showing represent those that have been annexed into the town of Mount Pleasant. Prior to 2001, the subject properties were zoned agricultural residential and agricultural general, but upon the adoption of the zoning and land development standards in November of 2001, the subject properties were zoned low density suburban residential, RSL. The 4 properties currently zoned urban residential, UR, were rezoned from the RSL district to moderate density suburban residential, also known as RSM, back in 2003. RSM has subsequently become the UR zoning district, and RSL became the low density residential R4 zoning district in 2006. The 10 Mile community, as stated previously, spans both sides of Highway 17 North, bisected by the urban growth boundary. The portion of the community located to the north of Highway 17 is in the rural area, and the portion of the community located to the south, where the subject parcels are located, is in the urban suburban area. The subject parcels are bounded by the Copiahe Sound to the south and Highway 17 North to the north, and contain residential uses or are undeveloped. Areas to the west in the county are zoned either low-density residential R4 or low-density manufactured housing subdivision, MHS. Properties to the west in the town of Mount Pleasant are zoned PI2, PD, R3, or R1. Properties to the east in the county are zoned 10 Mile Business Service Node or PD80, Seawee Preserve. So now we'll talk more about what the current zoning in the urban suburban area of the community allows. So this table shows the density, intensity, and dimensional standards for both the UR and R4 zoning districts. Maximum densities in these areas are 4 and 16 dwelling units per acre respectively. You can also see that the minimum lot area in R4 with public water and sewer is 5,000 square feet, and that there is no minimum lot area in UR. The R4 zoning district allows for 40% maximum impervious surface coverage, whereas the UR district allows for 50% coverage. Additionally, the maximum building height in R4 is 35 feet, but the maximum building height in UR is 4 stories or 50 feet, whichever is less. So this table shows the allowed land uses in the R4 zoning district, starting with the by right allowed uses on the left, moving to the conditionally allowed uses in the center, and uses requiring special exception approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals on the right-hand side. And this is the same table for the UR zoning district. So now I'll move on to discuss the specifics of the special management S3 zoning district. So here are the density, intensity, and dimensional standards for the S3 zoning district. They include a maximum density of 3 principal dwelling units per acre and a minimum lot area of 12,500 square feet with public water or sewer. The maximum impervious surface coverage is 40% of the lot, and the maximum building height is 35 feet. Here is the table of allowed uses for the S3 zoning district. So again, on the left-hand side, those are by right allowed uses. In the middle, those are uses subject to conditions. And on the right-hand side, uses that would require special exception approval by the Board of Zoning Appeals. This slide provides a comparison between the current R4 and UR zoning density, intensity, and dimensional standards and those of the S3 zoning district. So you can see that the S3 district has a lower density at 3 dwelling units per acre. The S3 zoning district also has a considerably larger minimum lot area at 12,500 square feet. The minimum lot width in S3 is also larger at a minimum of 70 feet. So this slide provides a comparison between some of the allowed land uses in the S3, R4, and UR zoning districts. So again, those marked with a C would be subject to conditions, and those with an S would require special exception approval. All right. Staff believes that this zoning map amendment meets the approval criteria because it is consistent with the comprehensive plan future land use designation for these properties, which is urban, suburban, cultural community protection, which is described in the comprehensive plan as, quote, intended to protect and promote the culture and unique development patterns of existing communities and sustain their strong sense of community. Also, the proposed amendment is consistent with the residential density recommended for this future land use designation, which is 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre, and section 3.1.7b of the comprehensive plan also states that zoning and land development regulations in these areas should be customized to meet the needs of individual communities. Additionally, the proposed rezoning to the S3 zoning district would aid the 10-mile community in preserving its historic character through a larger minimum lot size and a lower maximum density than allowed in the existing zoning districts of R4 and UR. The uses allowed in the S3 zoning district are compatible with the uses existing on surrounding properties, and the dimensional standards of the proposed zoning district are compatible with much of the development that exists in the community. The proposed amendment would make the zoning of the 10-mile community consistent with the zoning of many of the other settlement communities in the urban suburban area of the county, which are also zoned S3. The proposed amendment also addresses events, facts, or trends that have significantly changed the character or condition of an area. The subject properties were zoned RSL, now R4, with the adoption of the ZLDR in 2001. In 2003, 4 of those properties were rezoned to the RSM, now UR zoning district. Since that time, the growth in Charleston County and the town of Mount Pleasant has been exponential and spread outwards into areas that were once considered rural, such as the 10-mile community. Additionally, on October 26, 2021, the R4 zoning district was amended to allow for a minimum lot size of 5,000 square feet, reduced from the previous 7,250 square feet with public water and sewer, which created an opportunity for development on much smaller lots than were traditionally seen within the 10-mile community, which has an average lot size of 1.09 acres. As noted above, the proposed amendment would require a larger minimum lot size and lower density to help the community retain its historic character. Here is a potential timeline for the rezoning. Please note that these dates reflect the normal county council schedule and do not account for any potential special council meetings that may be held. We sent out 845 letters notifying today's Planning Commission meeting. We did also run an ad in the Post and Courier. And prior to today's meeting, we received 1 letter in support of the proposed rezoning, as well as a petition that stated, I am signing in support of the proposed 10-mile historic district zoning overlay, and I understand the zoning regulation changes that will occur as a result. And that did have 248 support signatures. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that comprehensive report. We will now hear public comment. So Pearl Askew.
Good evening, Pearl Askew, 977 Gastonville Road, Allendale. I'm just here to say thank you for having this on your agenda today. Prayerfully, hopefully, that we'll get a positive outcome for the rezoning from to S3, just based on the information that was just said. There's a huge concern about the 24 settlement communities in Charleston County. We are feeling the impact. A a regulated type of building our communities and preserving our character and the culture of the community. Thank you. I appreciate it. The meeting, so a lot of our residents aren't here today. Thank you very much.
A number of people signed up on the sheet, but only Ms. Askew checked the box that she wanted to speak. Is there anybody else who wants to speak?
Can I speak just, I'm in Oakley, so I'm like right on the borderline of like where this is all generating.
Did you-
So
Okay.
here-
Did you sign in?
I did on the other side. You asked if I wanted to speak on the Macomb side. But, I guess, I'm kind of coming.
Your name and address?
Oh, I'm at 1601 Periwinkle,
And tell us your name again?
Ashley Rule.
Okay.
Oh, okay, this is.
Oh, okay. So you signed up on this sheet. Okay, gotcha.
So we've lived in our house for going on 3 years now, and there has definitely been a huge change. And if you, this is not just like a typical area. You are really close to the water, so the roads are very narrow. You have when we have king tides, when the tides come in. And so just, I guess the way I look at it, you all are lowering the plot sizes.
It's not, this proposal will do the opposite of what you just said. This proposal rezones the properties that were listed in the staff report to have a larger lot size and a lower density.
Okay. I was just concerned as the traffic flow, so.
Thank you. All right. The discussion is now closed to public comment. Is there a motion and a second from the commission?
The motion to approve the submitted.
Second.
Okay. All right, any discussion or questions from the commissioners? All right.
I guess my only concern, I'm in support of it, but my only concern would be to make sure every resident in that community is on notice. I know that's hard because we can publish it. The residents that live nearby can go door to door and make sure they're informed. But I know there's cases where you have, in other communities, you have people who live out of state, or maybe their heirs own the property and they are not on notice. So I would just caution that we make sure all of the residents impacted or owners of the lots that are impacted be on appropriate notice, because this is going to arguably cause a diminution in value to the properties, arguably.
The staff will be posting all the properties, every single property with a sign. But we've done, as Emily said, as far as the mail-out notifications, everyone that's listed on the assessor's record as having ownership of the property, whether they're out of state or not.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And they'll receive a second letter for the public hearing.
Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, it's time for the roll.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Pilatos,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
County Council will hear this request at their public hearing January 9th, 2024 at 6:30 PM in council chambers, and again at their January 25th, 2024 Planning and Public Works Committee meeting at 5 PM. The request must then undergo 3 readings for approval at council's discretion. The next agenda item is the comprehensive plan recommendation. Maybe?
Good afternoon. We'll just start with the timeline of where we have been previously on this journey for the 5-year review of the comprehensive plan. We started from January of 2022 through November of 22 is when we provided an initial review of the plan, identified revisions, and worked with other departments to provide updates and updated Planning Commission. From November 22 to January of 2023, we had a community survey, and we received 247 virtual responses and 1 written response. February through April of 2023, we incorporated the public input that we received from the community survey into a draft document and gave updates to the Planning Commission over the course of 3 meetings. In May of 23, we finalized the initial draft and posted it online for public review. From June to August of 2023, there were 6 public workshops and 1 online workshop where we received 168 email responses, 89 virtual responses, and 42 written responses. In September of 2023, staff reviewed all the public input gathered at the public workshops through August 30th of 2023. And from September through November of 2023, the Planning Commission broke up into subcommittees where they met to review public feedback. We took the subcommittee comments and incorporated that into a final draft. Today, we are planning on going over the public input survey recap, a summary of the amendments initially approved by Planning Commission, the public input gathering campaign and the workshop recap, public participation and public comments, Planning Commission and subcommittees, and proposed revisions to the annual work plan. In the public input survey from November 17th to January 3rd, 2023, a sample of the questions that we put out there were, what is your age? Most respondents, 46.2%, fell into the over 65 years category, followed by 45 to 65 years, 32.4%, 25 to 44 years, 19.4%, 18 to 24 years is 1.6%, and less than 18 years was 0.4%. We also asked what area of the county that you lived in or owned property in, and Johns Island had the greatest number of respondents at 27.1%, followed by Kiowa and Seabrook at 15.8%, and James Island at 12.1%. Another question was, how long have you lived or owned property in the county? The majority of respondents, 33.2%, have lived or owned property in the county for 11 to 25 years, followed by 25 plus years at 25.9%, and 6 to 10 years at 21.5%. And we also asked them to describe what phrase best describes their residence or property. And most respondents described their property or residence as owner-occupied at 88.7%. In addition to the comments received in the survey, we had comments coming in constantly from the close of the survey through the April Planning Commission meeting. 148 letters and emails were received prior to the April 10th Planning Commission meeting and were sent to the Planning Commission, and these were included in the public comment summary report. Major themes of those comments were protecting our cultural and natural resources, updating the definition of open space, adding a rural Johns Island overlay district, updating the ZLDR in reference to tree and forest protection, and disallowing certain densities on Johns Island in rural agricultural and rural residential zoning districts, including planned developments. The comments were all incorporated into what was sent to the Planning Commission. This is a summary of the amendments initially approved by Planning Commission. We took each comment and identified where it was already addressed in the plan, if applicable, and made recommendations to the Planning Commission regarding where and how the remainder of the comments could be included in the plan. Each comment and staff recommendations described above were presented to the Planning Commission for consideration at their February 13th, March 13th, and April 10th, 2023 meetings. The changes presented included rewriting the vision statement to make it more concise, updating the element goals, amending and adding element strategies, adding items to the annual work program, and updating the definition of open space. The Planning Commission voted 7-0 to recommend taking the proposed changes to the public workshops on April 10th, 2023. These are a summary of the changes that we took to the public. In the table of contents, we added an acronym table. In Part 1, under Plan Structure, Part 3, Comprehensive Plan Elements, we added and Sustainability to Chapter 3.10, the Energy Element. Under Plan Structure, Part 3, Comprehensive Plan Elements, we added Chapter 3.11, the Resilience Element. Here you can see where we reduced the vision statement to the statement at the bottom of the screen and made it more concise. In Part 4, Additional Resources and References, we amended the definition of open space, and there were no changes proposed to Appendix X Implementation Toolbox. In the public workshops were held next. This is a copy of the flyer that was distributed showing the workshop dates and locations, along with a list of the dates chronicling the workshop notifications and the marketing. These are a list of the locations and dates of the public workshops where we received 168 email responses, 89 virtual responses, and 42 written responses. We had a total of 167 attendees at the meetings based on the number of people who signed in. The comment submittal method was 60% of the comments were emailed, 30% were submitted online, and 10% came from the comment cards. The number of comment cards and attendees by workshop is shown in this graph. The best attended meetings were Johns Island and Edisto at 46 and 45 attendees respectively, and the most feedback came from the virtual meeting, 89 comments, while James Island had the most comment cards returned at 10. As far as the demographics for the public participation, we asked the age and their tenure in the county, and most respondents were over 65, 48%, and had lived in the county for more than 20 years, 58%. We analyzed the public comment, and the themes seem to fall along these lines of increasing open space, clustering, and other requirements necessary to achieve higher densities, create safe bike lanes, pedestrian crossings, and sidewalks, codify, strengthen the urban growth boundary, and concentrate growth in the urban-suburban area where infrastructure exists, add Seabrook and Kiowa Islands to the list of municipalities to work with in order to strengthen the UGB location, preserve the rural area and natural resources, add fresh and saltwater wetlands to areas to protect in natural resources element goal, and safeguard rural residential and agricultural communities. As I mentioned, the Planning Commission was broken down into 3 subcommittees, which reviewed 3 to 4 elements apiece. The Land Use, Population, Natural Resources, and Community Facilities Subcommittee met on September 25th and October 26th. The Resilience, Housing, Cultural Resources, and Economic Development Subcommittee met on September 26th and November 1st. And the Energy, Priority Investment, and Transportation Subcommittee met on October 3rd and October 31st. The following is the subcommittee recommendations, and in the slides, the subcommittee recommendations will be shown in italicized purple font. These are listed by element, and we can go through them all or just touch upon any questions that you have. So,
Approve them based on each element.
Yeah. So we can proceed however Planning Commission wishes. I mean, we can go through, as Monica said, each one of these, but Mr. Kent, as far as approving, making a recommendation for, making a motion for a vote, you can do it element by element or however you want to do it. So I think element by element to start with might be a good idea. And if we have the information here on the slide and the presentations that you got, so we won't go through each one unless you want us to. Or if you have a specific question about one of these elements or one of these comments for the additions, let us know.
Cindy.
I'd like to make a general comment. First, I recognize the large amount of effort that has been put into the comprehensive plan. It is commendable. It is largely the work of staff, but the comp plan is our responsibility, the PC's responsibility. It is incumbent upon us to suggest improvements, additions or deletions. To do so is not to demean the efforts of staff, but to shape the product in a better way. In my view, the document lacks dynamism, at least in the areas where it is needed. Perhaps it's too late to make anything but minor amendments, but let me state what I think is a major deficiency. The major concerns of the community are unarguably the mismatch of development and infrastructure. Think Johns Island. And arguably the impact of sea level rise. In my view, the issue of sea level rise are skirted and not defined or confronted in the comp plan. I think that they should have been, but it's probably too late to do anything. My suggestion is to make it sound more dynamic, that we have a forward to the comp plan, written perhaps by the chair, and addresses these specific issues and perhaps others that the commissioners may suggest as affordable housing. I mean, you look at the comp plan now, I mean, there's no sense of urgency about what's happening in Johns Island and the mismatch between the infrastructure development and development generally. There's no sense that we're looking at it or doing something or caring about it, in my view. And I think that needs or should be addressed, and maybe it would be addressed if we had some sort of forward, pinpointing that, highlighting it. People pick up the comprehensive plan, which in the energy element, somebody said the comp plan is unreadable, or nobody reads it. They don't read it because it's unreadable. So this would be my idea, to somehow make it more dynamic and perhaps overcome the deficiencies that I see. And I also think that with the benefit of recent mapping technology, those are the parts of the county likely to be affected by higher sea levels first can be identified and remedial or preparatory action recommended. Perhaps not too late for the plan, but not for the forward. And secondly, I guess this has been said before, I think the plan is too wordy. I've suggested instead of referring at length to Carter in different elements, it be confined to one and referenced in the other elements. The same for the sales tax recommendation. And thirdly, there are errors still in the substitution of EGB for an urban growth boundary, and I guess in other areas. And fourthly, I guess most important for me, I will not be supporting the energy element in its present form.
just take it per element,
Yeah.
and then we'll vote on it per element.
So should we go by how they're listed here?
Unless you're going to make a motion on something else.
Is that a motion?
Well, I would be welcome if anybody had a comment on my comments, but if they just want to ignore it, that's okay. Well, I'll make a motion, yes, if it's necessary, that a forward be prepared along the lines that I suggested.
You want me to write it?
I don't care who writes it. Somebody writes it. I think it's just something that needs to be done. I would be happy to help, but
Okay.
A forward of the comprehensive plan, kind of an overview.
well, not an overview, no. A focus on the important points, or the critical points, the critical things that need to be addressed, to show that we care and we're thinking about it. Let's face it, all the other issues are buried in the wordiness.
Is there not an executive summary that kind of pulls that out already? I mean, is there,
We
typically you see that.
We didn't have an executive summary on this version of the comp plan. When I say this, since the original comp plan, the original comp plan in '99 was so large that there was an executive summary that was published. But yeah, we're glad to do what or help or assist in whatever way that Planning Commission would like us to. So I mean, I wrote down a few of the notes that Mr. Jones said. Mentions sea level rise, mentioned the importance of infrastructure and addressing the issues of growth on Johns Island in particular, and having a map that reflects that sea level rise, and as the other things of having the abbreviations that are associated with some of the terms. That can always be done administratively with us, because that's not changing anything substantively.
Well, isn't there a table in this one with all the acronyms?
Yes, we do have the acronyms spelled out in the table.
I'm not making a big deal of it, but sometimes they get missed. And in my reading, I
Yes,
saw a number of cases.
and I can tell you that every time that we and staff have gotten together and read through it, we've caught another one. It's just
I understand.
Yes.
It happens to us all.
Yes, yeah.
You mean contracting it to the acronym, or?
So having it spelled out once,
Oh,
these terms, and then using the acronym throughout the accepted acronym throughout the rest of the document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to second the motion that was on the floor, I guess, that we create a executive summary or a forward to this that has a synopsis of each chapter, each element, basically, just pulling the highlights just so that someone can pull it out and read for however many pages and not 150 pages, right? Like that would be really useful for the public, I think.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure that if the Planning Commission makes a vote, a unanimous vote on this, that it's clear to staff. So what Mr. Jones said, he hit some highlight points of things overall in the county, or do you want it to be more systematic, as you said, Mr. McConnell, to address what each chapter, a summary of each chapter in the forward?
My preference would be
element, sorry.
My preference would be a quick summary of each element so that I can go and look and understand what those are before I dig deeper. And I think it makes it more accessible to the public personally. That would be my want.
Okay, and we can always add the highlights, Mr. Jones, in that.
I'm not, how shall I say, totally opposed, but I think it might lose some dynamism if you sort of had said, okay, we're going to make a comment on every element. It depends on how it's written. I mean, some of the elements probably don't need anything much. I don't know. But
Well, my concern for your scheme is like what is important to you, what you think are the important elements might be different from the ones that I think are the important elements. So if we did like Mr. McConnell suggested, something for each of the elements, that would make sure that, we're not.
okay, as long as it's not a summary of each element, as long as this is the problem in this particular area, population growth, all of the influx from the north or whatever. I don't know. I from the top of my head, I can think of things. But it has to be dynamic. It can't be, we've got to fill this space because we have a space to fill because of the priority investment or population or whatever.
We do have a summary of each element on pages 17 and 18 of the draft plan but it is a summary, it's not what you're talking about.
I'm talking about something right up front. People are not going to read a comprehensive plan, but they may be interested in the most important features, which I guess I'm trying to highlight.
Well, like I said, my only concern is that what you consider important might be different from what I consider important, so.
Oh, what's changed?
Can I say that?
I don't want mine ignored.
I think I agree with Mr. Jones, understanding that putting out there what exactly is the Planning Commission doing other than just editing, like rewriting a document. So if I'm hearing correctly, it's kind of like this is what we see, this is what we're doing, more than just, and then the details are in the document.
Yes, that's in summary, yes.
Right, because I wouldn't read it either.
Well, I'm just going to say, I'm not too sure I understand where we're going with it. Like Andrea said, there is a summary of each goal at the beginning. And then obviously you have the chapter and you have the elements and goals. From there, we can take it and add to the ZLDR and use the comprehensive plan as the backing for that. So it's kind of like if we have action items that we want to do, then we can write amendments to the ZLDR and say, well, in the comprehensive plan it says this, I'm backed up in my thoughts on how we conform that. Or if it's, so like the West Ashley Revitalization Plan has essentially at the end a table of action items and the timelines for those. Is that what you're looking for? And I think that would operate
But
differently.
a very boring plan. I think that what you need is something that is dynamic, that you can read and pick up and feel this is what's happening and this is what we're trying to do. And not spending an equal amount of time on every element, just picking up. As I said, what are the most important issues? You decide. I can tell you from the people that come here, I don't need to read the comments from the people who sent in comments. What's happening in Johns Island, the mismatch between infrastructure development and development is the critical thing. I mean, probably more than anything else, that is the major issue. Then beyond that is arguable, but I pick sea level rise. And I think those things, and as perhaps we discussed earlier, the urban growth boundary, it's inevitably going to be moved somewhere along the line. We may argue against that, but something should be written perhaps about it to address it, what might happen, things like that.
My concern is, I think, is determining what those are and agreeing to them. Because what you may be agreeing to and what I may think about are separate. That's what the plan is there for. And so how do you say to the public, these are the 5 items when we can't agree what the 5 items are?
The public is saying that the mismatch between infrastructure development and development is the prime. You see it. You see people coming here. Are you going to tell me that I'm wrong?
No, I don't
Okay,
disagree
well,
with
there we
you,
go.
but where do you draw the line? Where are you going to say infrastructure? Are you going to say Johns Island? What about
No,
West
I used that-
Ashley? And
I
what
used
about, I mean, you got infrastructure issues all over the place, so where do you say this is the, I mean, I don't know. That's my concern.
Well, there's obviously some, what's the term, value judgments here that have to be applied. I mean, we can totally ignore the whole thing, fine, and then we'll have an unreadable comprehensive plan. But at least I think we should attempt to address it.
So your motion is for the staff to put together a forward highlighting.
Well, maybe it should be a number of people from the PC to maybe meet and to flesh it out, and staff.
Okay.
Well, what does other people think?
Okay. Well, I'm not opposed to your concept.
You don't like the chairman having to write it?
Well, hey, we accept the burdens that are given to us, but I'm just, to get the thing started that you want to do, I think we have to, unless you want to make an attempt at it, and then we would.
Microphone.
I'm on. I'm just not talking into it? No. Okay. I just want to know how we're going to progress with actually, setting this thing up and getting it set up so that we can consider it.
Well, my experience with the PC and my efforts are not particularly encouraging. But I'd be happy to participate in it and perhaps lead it or whatever. I recognize that there are difficulties, but one is not unamenable to compromise.
Pete?
I think I'd support this. I believe I understand where you're going, Mr. Jones, but if we take it on, it needs to be high level. If we're talking about transportation issues, I agree with Mr. Kent, maybe not focus on one part of the county. Recognize that we have housing affordability issues, transportation issues, flooding issues, population growth issues throughout the county, and keep it at that high level without trying to revamp the comp plan in this executive summary right out the gate.
I guess it's over to me again. Okay, well, I think it should be. I agree with you. If there's going to be any comment, it should be on a high level and the important thing. But it shouldn't be equal space devoted to each element. Maybe there should be some elements where nothing is said. But, God, let's make an attempt at it.
Okay, so how do you want to move forward? Do you want to set up a subcommittee to work on it?
You want me to set up the subcommittee?
No, I said, not necessarily, but I mean, you've volunteered to be on it.
Right, right.
So is
I
that
guess
the
I
way
have
you
the
want
duty
to?
to
Is
do
that
so,
the way you
but-
want to proceed?
Sorry?
Is that the way you want to proceed?
Uh,
To set up a subcommittee to start working on this forward or synopsis?
What did they say about a subcommittee? The design of a horse would be, I don't know, I've seen the cartoon where it's all over. The more people on a subcommittee, the worse it is.
Okay, so you don't want a subcommittee?
No, I would, but I don't want 9 members.
Okay, tell us what you want, Mr. Jones.
Is there anybody who would be happy to join me attempting to do this?
Sure.
Thank you.
I think I'm pretty much obligated because as the
Yeah.
chair.
I'm utter newcomer, and I won't know all of your names, so I apologize. I'll get to that eventually. I'm at the age where I think everybody should have a name tag right here. From my reading of it, at the beginning of every element, there seemed to be a summary of the salient items in that element. And I can't disagree with you that there are some elements that are more important to the public than others. But would it make any sense to have an executive summary that pulled those to the front of the document so that people did not have to parse through the entire thing in order to understand what the main parts of each element were?
I think that's a really good idea.
My view is that and I guess this is not a shot at staff, it's institutional writing, it's not dynamic. And I think that you probably need sort of Fleet Street journalism or whatever style to highlight, and in terms that highlight the deficiencies or the problems, rather than sort of dreary sort of language that is not alarmist or whatever.
Okay. Adam?
I think when you look at some of the modifications we made to this comprehensive plan, this update, right? This is not a comprehensive review of the comprehensive plan. This is an update to an existing comprehensive plan. And therefore, it will not be as dynamic as maybe we want it to be. But I do agree with Ms. Cox that this is important that we put all this stuff together for each element, because we don't know what's important to what people. We don't know if there is a business is looking at the region who wants to look specifically at the energy element, for instance, or the resiliency element, or maybe there's someone who is in conservation. Like, there are elements, there is information embedded in this plan that is important to a wide variety of people, and we should make it as accessible as possible so people can dig right in. I take your point that there are large issues, traffic, housing, economic development, flooding, and so forth, that are really important issues. And the majority of the changes that we made within this document are to address those concerns. And so that to me looks like a very small editorial, if you will, saying, hey, we recognize X, Y, and Z. We made these changes. Here's the review of each element. This shows how we document how we've tried to address those changes within this update. I mean, it seems like a fairly straightforward exercise to me, but that's my thinking on it. I think it should be comprehensive, and I think that if we want to have an editorial or a forward to it, then I think that's fine. But to me, that feels like the right structure.
Kent?
I don't know. So we have a motion on the floor. I don't know, it has to be seconded before I can amend it, but I guess.
Pete, I
Is
think
that
it
right,
has
Mark?
been seconded.
It has been seconded?
Yeah. Oh, Adam.
Adam said, okay, good. Well, my suggestion would be to amend it and basically let us go through the comments and either approve, change, whatever. And between now and the next meeting, a subcommittee could be formed to put together the forward that Mr. Jones is recommending. We bring it to the commission and they decide yea or nay.
Just so that we know the schedule, packet for the next meeting goes out on the 29th of this month, so we'd probably need within the next 10 days to finalize whatever that forward is, if it's going to be on the January Planning Commission agenda, because that's January 8th. But, of course, we could push the schedule out to give us some more time. I know with the holidays and everything, it gets tough.
I would think that would be next to impossible to get it done in 10 days, but Mr. Jones can do miracles, I'm sure.
Can I make a comment?
Certainly. It's your motion.
Adam's comment, I don't think we're at cross purposes here.
No.
If there was some substantial change made, which I hope there will be on the energy element, that could be incorporated. Okay, so I don't know what you particularly have in mind, but if there is a major change, we can say, this is a particular issue, and we attempted to address it in the comp plan body. Anybody who has a specific interest in a specific topic, it's still there in the comp plan. If it's not covered in the preface or whatever it's forward, it's still available for somebody to look it up. So there's nothing compromised by having a forward.
Yeah. Just from a staff perspective, we do want to try to keep on schedule if possible. If there are two different things that we're talking about here, from what I'm just thinking procedurally in my mind as I hear the Planning Commission speak, the forward would be a separate standalone document that we can, whoever decides to craft that, would be utilizing what is in the comp plan now in that language.
So could we do it as two separate documents?
Well, but I guess what I was getting at was, if there's anything that we've presented today that the Planning Commission can go ahead and make a recommendation of approval of as far as a draft, we'll be that much further ahead for, it sounds like we're going to a January meeting at least for this forward. If I would like to push forward, because I'm sure that I would hope that there are some of the items in the elements, I'm not expecting all of them, but some of the elements could go ahead and get a recommendation from Planning Commission so that it will free up the January meeting to discuss the other things. Do you understand what I'm, yeah. And I'm not, and again, Mr. Jones, I don't expect that all the elements would move forward, but whichever ones we can, that would be good. And I can also say that we don't take any offense that this is an unreadable document or boring.
Heard it before?
I mean, it can be. It does follow the criteria as set forth in state law, and it's very matter-of-fact stuff. So we are welcome to help the Planning Commission with a forward to make it a little bit more exciting.
Okay.
We'll be glad to do that.
Okay, so can we kind of try to figure out what the motion is and what we're going to do? So, Ms. Cox?
Again, I feel like the newbie here, I shouldn't be commenting, but coming back to the summary that's at the beginning of every element, which I think summarizes each element.
if we, not deviating from that, if we added a sentence or two that spiced it up in some way, that gave it a little more action forward sort of focus. It wouldn't be completely reinventing the wheel, and it wouldn't be perhaps not holding up the process unduly, but
Be boring.
I think it's kind of just its nature. I don't know if that's something that we can fix, but again, a more action-focused addition to each summary of each element.
So are we going to do that, address
Suggestion.
that separately from the elements of the comprehensive plan? Would you be amenable to that, Mr. Jones, that we,
I'm lost. What-
that we
what do you-
consider your proposition for a forward, or whatever we're going to call it, executive summary, separately from the comprehensive plan? It would be added to the comprehensive plan later? Could we go with that? Is that?
Okay, yes, but this would be a forward that would go in the final
Right.
comprehensive plan. Yes, yes, that's fine.
Okay.
But I think that if there's a forward that to be written, and maybe there are some things that may have been left out of the plan, maybe some comment could be made.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I think that's agreeable. I mean, if you're a co-writer here, does that sound okay?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's clearly, you know, if there's something that's in addition to what the committee has already seen and approved, obviously it's going to come back to everybody for additional discussion, but.
Adam is the second to the motion. Is that acceptable for you?
Sure.
Just to clarify, so
That's what I was trying to do.
I have it correctly. There was Mr. Jones's motion, Mr. McConnell seconded, and that was to write the forward, and then Mr. Kent amended that motion to form a subcommittee to create this forward. Is that accurate?
Okay. And is that okay?
And as I understand it, the motion is for a forward from Mr. Jones and a second from Mr. McConnell. And I do believe Mr. Kent made an intent to amend that motion, but I do not recall what his amendment is intending to do.
Basically, just to pull it out and do a subcommittee to review that and bring it back to Planning Commission whenever we can. I don't know if we can do within 10 days for January. It may be February, but whenever they can come back and bring it before the Planning Commission, given the days we have to notify the public.
Can I make a suggestion then?
Okay. What?
Why don't we two do a summary? I could say that it would probably take me a week or so
Okay.
to do.
All right.
And then if we can agree or disagree or whatever,
forward.
we would then, and of course, it has to be approved by the PC.
But are you okay with separating the two out? I think you said you were. Separating the summary forward, whatever we're going to call this, from the body of the comp plan that we're considering today.
Okay, as long as everybody approves what's in front of them.
Right.
That has to be approved.
Yeah, I just don't want to get sidetracked from a staff perspective. Of course, Planning Commission could tell us how they'd like to do it. I just don't want us to get sidetracked on halting everything and waiting for the final draft and a recommendation of a summary or forward, whatever we call it, and us not go ahead and accept or not accept what's in front of us today in the elements, so that we at least have whatever we agree on, whatever the Planning Commission agrees on, behind us.
That was not my intention.
Okay. Yep. And I just want to make sure we're good with that. Yep.
Okay.
Before we get in, Mr. Kent, are you seeking a second to your amendment, or are you withdrawing your amendment?
Well, I think we need that amendment so we know how to go forward with the forward. How to go forward with the forward?
And I only add that because it sounds like Commissioner Jones is proposing to work on his forward with Commissioner Cox separately.
Okay.
Right.
That's fine. I have no problem with that. I remove
But
my
that's not part of the
amendment.
motion, is it?
And the staff will assist with you all whenever. Okay.
Oh, really?
It won't be boring.
Really? Okay, so where are we?
Oh, not
We've got
again.
the motion, we've got the amendment. We need a
The
second.
amendment was withdrawn.
withdrew.
Oh, you withdrew the
Mhm. So we have a motion and a second, and the motion is
Okay, and the
to,
motion is?
to add a forward to the comprehensive plan outlining what Mr. Jones and Mr. McConnell and y'all
Okay,
just
all
discussed.
right. Are we ready for a vote?
Hate to beat the dead horse. Does this mean, though, that the comprehensive plan as it's proposed by staff?
We will still go through that element by element and vote.
Okay.
So that we can move those items forward. As I understand it, the forward will be addressed separately.
Right, yeah. Yeah, there has
Will
not-
eventually,
There's not been a motion on
Yeah.
the comprehensive plan itself. We've just been
Correct.
discussing this forward, yes.
We also need to do public comments.
Right, right. Yeah.
should we do public comments first?
That's up to, do you want to do the public comments first before we vote on this forward issue? Going forward? Okay, yeah, that's just,
I don't think
yeah.
so. Do
You
we?
want to have a vote on the forward? Let's go ahead.
Let's do the vote on the
Vote on the forward? All right. Commissioner Logan Davis?
Nay.
Commissioner Marlena Davis? Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell? Commissioner Morris? Commissioner Pilatos? And Commissioner Cox?
Sure. Aye.
The ayes have it.
And let me just, yeah, Monica, how far did we get? We got sidetracked here. How far did we get in the presentation of the actual comp plan?
I think we're starting to land out
Yeah.
this element with the purple.
We're in the elements where it shows the actual changes.
Right.
Okay.
And these are the changes that the subcommittees
And
proposed.
the following slides show a summary of the changes.
Right,
Right. Well, yeah.
by element.
Each by element. So I think the question had come up, I know, we can discuss these in detail. We don't need a motion, but we can discuss these in detail as we go through each element and then go to public comment, if that's what you'd like to do, and then go into a motion on each element later, or,
Why don't we have public comment after each element?
okay. After each element, no, no.
Well, then we can vote on them.
We don't know.
So is the public going to speak after each element? Is that
I
what?
would say so.
I
That way we
wouldn't
can,
think so. I don't think
you want
that's,
to come back to it.
Yeah,
why
yeah,
don't we go through the elements and then have the
yeah,
public comment?
yeah. Let's do, yeah.
Okay.
Monica, you want to just go through each of the elements and then just give a high-level review of each one, not going into the detail, and then we'll let the planning commission decide on speakers. Okay?
In the land use element, we revised the element goal to add protect our cultural and natural resources and rural, residential, and agricultural communities while accommodating smart growth that respects the unique character and landscape of the county, promotes sustainable economic opportunity, fosters resilience, respects private property rights, and is tightly coordinated with transportation infrastructure planning and with the provision of other community facilities. Amended Land Use Strategy 4 to read coordinate radial grid system land use patterns with elevation, transportation, housing, employment, and retail development to encourage compact growth in already developed areas that are not susceptible to flooding and infill existing vacant sites inside the UGB requiring pedestrian connectivity between communities and local amenities and ensuring that the infrastructure required to support development, including public transportation systems, is in place prior to development approvals. Revised Land Use Strategy 5, reinforce the location of the UGB and establish criteria to change its location through coordination with all municipalities and service providers. Land Use Strategy 5 amended to continue to encourage and support safe pedestrian and bikeway linkages. Under 3.1.4, Future Land Use Plan Approach, revise the first sentence to read, the approach to future land use includes a multi-tiered effort that incorporates recommendations for growth management, treatment of major planning efforts, specific land uses and densities within the future land use plan, and development quality and character through a series of guidelines for the rural and urban suburban areas of the county adhering to the urban growth boundary. We added a section on the historic African American communities under section 3.1.7.b, urban suburban cultural community protection, to read, "This future land use designation is intended to protect and promote the culture and unique development patterns of existing communities and sustain their strong sense of community." Charleston County's historic African American communities date back to the post-Civil War era when Black freedmen and women began establishing their own political and economic independence. These communities, many of which are located in the county's unincorporated areas, have seen significant changes to their built environments as a result of demolition, redevelopment, or destruction from natural resources. Due to this, a large portion of the late 19th and early 20th century historic fabric has had to be replaced. This includes homes, businesses, churches, and institutional buildings such as schoolhouses and lodges, sheds used for agriculture, and other structures. Even though some of these communities have unofficial beginnings, their parcels' linear size, shape, and cadastral patterns are frequently visually striking and, in certain situations, may be the most significant features. It is these patterns of development that should be protected. Under Economic Development element, we added Economic Development Strategy 9 to work with the existing industries to increase the average hourly wages and salaries in the region, encourage the recruitment of businesses and industries that pay the wages necessary to afford housing, and train residents to obtain higher paying jobs through coordination with the Charleston Regional Development Alliance, CRDA, SC Works, Trident, and local economic development departments. And added Economic Development Strategy 10, support multi-county industrial parks, tax increment financing districts, and other economic development tools to provide funding for development of affordable and workforce housing. Natural Resources element revised the goal to read, "To preserve, enhance, and revitalize natural resources such as rivers, creeks, fresh and saltwater wetlands, aquatic and wildlife habitat, beaches and dunes, groundwater, forest, farmland soils, and air quality, and take actions to mitigate potential negative impacts of growth and development." Amended Natural Resources Strategy 12 to continue to encourage sustainable landscaping that includes attractive environments that are in balance with the local climate and more efficient use of fertilizers and pesticides while at the same time conserving water. Added Natural Resources Strategy 22, improve connections to the water by way of additional public boat landings and docks to promote individual, commercial, and recreational transportation opportunities. Under Cultural Resources, added Cultural Resources Strategy 14, coordinate with jurisdictions to pursue grant funding to complete a comprehensive study of historic land and places located in the unincorporated and incorporated areas of Charleston County. And added Cultural Resources Strategy 15, create a publicly accessible repository of all cultural and historic surveys completed by the county and for development projects within the county. Under Population element, amended Population Strategy 3 to continue to support a diverse population through land development regulations that accommodate a range of mixed housing types and sizes, transportation, and employment opportunities. Under Housing, revised Housing Strategy 4 to read, support the stabilization of existing naturally occurring affordable housing stock through a revolving loan fund and other similar programs. Amended Housing Strategy 7 to say, continue to encourage provision of housing that is affordable to all residents and meets the needs of the diversifying population by allowing alternative housing types, example, duplex, triplex, fourplex, townhouse, by right in the urban suburban area. and revised Housing Strategy 11 to read, support state legislation to allow jurisdictions to require the inclusion of affordable and workforce housing in developments. In transportation, under 3.7.2, background and inventory of existing conditions, revise the third sentence to read, in 2004, Charleston County voters approved a half-cent sales tax on purchases made within the county for 25 years or until $1.3 billion is collected to help address the challenging issues of lagging infrastructure compared to the pace of growth in the county. Under 3.7.2, CARTA added sentence to the end of the paragraph. The 2006 half-cent sales tax allocates 18% or $234,604,800 to transit for spending from fiscal year 2005 to fiscal year 2030. Of that money, $232,719,510 goes to CARTA. The 2016 half-cent sales tax allocates 29% or $609 billion to transit for spending from fiscal year 2017 to fiscal year 2042. Of that figure, $380,952,120 goes to CARTA.
So is it appropriate to make a comment? Sure. Maybe it's a small thing, but there is obviously an error there at the bottom, 380 million. But do we have to spell out all of that? Would it not be simpler just to say approximately 381 million rather than go down to specifically to the dollar? I mean, it's unmemorable as it is. Sure. That's a suggestion.
Also under transportation element, under 3.7.2, 2006 half-cent sales tax program added a new section after the list of bonded projects, stating that the county began considering options for the clogged section of Maybank at Johns Island's northeastern border more than 15 years ago. An early proposal to just widen the road to 5 lanes was rejected as being excessively unattractive, primarily due to the large number of grand oaks that would be required to be removed. As an alternative, the pitchfork design was proposed with the Paul J. Galligaudis Bridge designed as the handle and the 3 proposed connections to River Road, including the current section of Maybank designed as the tines. However, the only work completed to date has been the addition of a westbound lane to Maybank. While this project helped reduce traffic in the late afternoon, there is still major traffic congestion. As of November 2022, Charleston County Council awarded a $4.3 million construction contract to construct the Northern Pitchfork. The Northern Pitchfork was funded through the half-cent sales tax in lieu of widening Maybank to 4 or 5 lanes several years ago. There is no funding source or work currently being done on the Southern Pitchfork because the Northern Pitchfork used up all the funds set aside to widen Maybank. Continuing under transportation, under 3.7.2, Charleston Harbor Evening removed everything following the first paragraph. In figure 3.7.2, Charleston International Airport passenger growth updated numbers for 2022 and 2023, and added Transportation Strategy 22, create an official map showing federal and locally funded roads along with planned road projects and CARTA projects. There were no subcommittee changes proposed to the community facilities element. Under priority investment implementation and coordination element, 3.9.3 element needs revise the first bullet point to read interjurisdictional coordination, including reinforcing the location of the urban growth boundary through a mutually agreed to process and criteria for amending the urban growth boundary. Additions to Table 3.9.1 Priority Recommendations 2023 to 2028 shown in detail further in the presentation, slides 40 to 42. Under Energy and Sustainability element, in the element goal, strike the words "and the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions." Under 3.10.1 Overview, After the section on fluorinated gases, strike everything up to the paragraph beginning, thinking about resource consumption. Resilience elements. Revise the first two sentences of the resilience element purpose and intent to read, the primary purpose of the resilience element is to establish resiliency strategies and actions and identify resources that can aid in strengthening our resilience. The resilience element provides the long-range plan needed to coordinate these ongoing efforts. Added an action item to resilience element strategy 1, reading, investigate the feasibility of elevation-based zoning to limit development in areas prone to flooding and identify areas more appropriate for increased density based on flood zones. These were the proposed revisions to the annual work plan that I mentioned earlier. These were the following items were added to the annual work plan: to reinforce the location of the urban growth boundary, to review the land uses and zoning allowed in agricultural zoning districts on Johns Island to prioritize agricultural, silviculture, equestrian, and other agriculturally related uses. Review and amend the comprehensive plan and the ZLDR as applicable to increase open space, clustering, and other requirements necessary to achieve higher densities through the PD process. Refine open space as it relates to plan developments, and remove the conservation subdivision provisions of the ZLDR as they relate to the Ag 8 zoning district. Review and amend the comprehensive plan and ZLDR to prohibit clear cutting of properties and incentivize the retention of swaths of trees. Create an official map showing federal and locally funded roads along with planned road projects and CARTA projects. The Planning Commission meetings beginning in January 2023. A comprehensive plan update was provided each meeting, and email notifications were sent to the comp plan ZLDR interested party list and notice per the ZLDR requirements. In addition, ads ran in the Post and Courier 15 days prior to the meetings. For this today's meeting, 471 email notifications were sent to the comp plan ZLDR interested parties list on November 17, 2023, and also that day the ad ran in the Post and Courier. And as far as public input for today's meeting, we received, as of December 8th, 2 emails from Mr. Fred Palm and 1 email from Ms. Frances P. White. That's it.
Okay, we appreciate the staff's comprehensive report. Are there any questions for the staff from the commission?
Sure.
David?
Let me find this.
Mine's not on.
So on the amended land use strategy number 4 under land use elements, I'm just curious, you know, I agree with a lot of the stuff in there on how we should be having land use patterns, but then you have all this stuff that needs to be done and it says that it's in place prior to development approval. I don't think that's even feasible or probably under our jurisdiction.
Joel?
Oh, okay. I thought someone else was going to say something.
Maybe I'm missing something, but I'm surprised it's in there.
Or
Yeah,
you wanna-
that-
if
so
you wanna
that-
delegate that to somebody else.
That's fine. I'll give it a shot at it, and then I'll delegate it afterwards. So, yeah, this has always been in the comp plan. It's something that's in there. It kind of piggybacks on what I think what Mr. Jones had stated earlier about infrastructure not being in place prior, lack of infrastructure in areas that are kind of exploding with development, which Johns Island seems to be, one of the places that's happening pretty acutely right now. But I think, as someone said, an argument can be made it's most everywhere in the county. So I think that's just a strategy to strive for. It's not a zoning or it's not implemented in a zoning ordinance or a law right now. However, Planning Commission wants to, edit that if that's what, they think, but I think it's there and designed, and it's been there, because it's not something that's being proposed to be changed. It's designed to bring forward the issue of infrastructure and growth, and that they should go hand in hand together.
And the other thing, which is somewhere else in there, is not susceptible to flooding. I don't know what not acceptable to flooding means, because we are in the low country and we have low elevation. So is there a definition of what's not susceptible to the flooding? I mean, because everything we do now is keeping everything on site, right? They're keeping water on site. Now, if you're along the marshes, different story.
So there are a lot of parcels inland from the marsh in the county that, because of their geographic nature, they tend to have recurring flooding, and when we have these properties that that regularly flood, and we want to be sure that we are considering that when we're looking at development in areas of the county from a regulatory point of view.
So you're saying basically because it's a strategy, it's not.
Yeah. So this is just a strategy that we want to keep in place so that when we do go to construct ordinances, we have something to point to in the comp plan that says, yeah, we should be having this infrastructure in this place because it's not in an area that floods. And before we allow, a 500,000 unit apartment building with commercial in it, we want to make sure that we have the infrastructure there to support that. Or a rezoning request or whatever.
Okay. Yep. The next one on economic development. I don't know if we can put in there work with the existing industries to increase hourly wages. That's something certainly we're trying to recruit, but to increase, I don't know if that's market driven.
I want to endorse that. I mean, having worked in business in the private sector, it just doesn't work that way. I mean, yes, it's nice to get higher wages, but if you want to have a thriving economy, you need people to work it, and then there's a spectrum of wage positions and whatever. So,
isn't that part of the encourage the recruitment of businesses and industries that pay the necessary wages necessary to afford and train residents to obtain higher paying jobs?
Yes, so they're different. One is work with existing industries to increase. Okay. The other one's recruit. Okay. I get the recruit, because if you recruit high skilled jobs.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So are we going to wait for public comments before we start making changes, or?
However you want to do it. We can go to public comments, then go into the details of changes.
Can I, what the public has to say.
Can I just ask, one of the things that I guess I've become aware of is the amount of technology that is out there that enables us to do things which would have been unthought of before. We can press a button virtually now and get a picture of what Charleston County would look like if sea level rose 10 feet, 20 feet, 40 feet, 50 feet. It would be interesting to see what the vulnerable areas would be in such a scenario. I pull a figure out of the air, 50 feet. And to address...
We're done.
Sorry?
We're done.
Okay, but some people are looking about that in the...
We're done.
We're not here.
I think some of the highest levels in most of the counties in the 20, 30-foot range.
Okay. So you can poke fun at me. You feel better.
No, I'm not poking fun.
we're just like-
I've seen the maps.
But I don't know, I think it would be interesting to perhaps look at some of those areas which are most vulnerable. Okay, take 10 feet, 15 feet. Maybe that will be in some of our lifetimes, certainly not mine, but nevertheless, it's worthwhile pointing out, considering the issues that we're facing in flooding. That would not be possible for this plan, or maybe not feasible.
You want to put that in the plan?
Well, I'm not saying it should be, but I'm just asking, is it feasible? Does it make sense? Or
To put a flood map showing the different elevations, yeah, that can be added. Those maps are available.
Well, I'm suggesting it. Maybe it's not a good idea. Nobody's been hesitant to say things like that in the past, but
No, I think that if that's what planning commission wants to do, we can get those maps and put them in the land use element. I don't want to scare everybody out.
Are you talking about the FEMA flood maps? Is that what you're thinking?
no, it's not FEMA. I don't think it's FEMA. I've just seen maps. I don't know who.
They're
prepares-
modeling maps that
Yeah.
shows the different elevations of the
Right.
county that are available. You can go online and see them. Yeah.
Would the resiliency element be a good place for that sort of future projections? Like, hey, this is why we have the resiliency effort, because this is the threat that we're seeing there. Not necessarily in the land use section, because that's a little more specific, but the
Right.
resiliency is sort of that planning for the future, it seems to me.
Yeah.
No objection, whatever.
Okay, all right.
We just do public comment and then we'll.
Okay. All right, we've gone through all the elements. We can now open it up for public comment. Is Frances White here? I don't think she's standing up to speak anyway. George Freeman, are you still here? Come to the podium, please, and come to the podium and tell us what you're going to say.
Oh, or Francis is here.
Oh, she is. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Well, she didn't check, though.
Oh, Francis, you didn't check. Did you want to speak? Okay, all right.
Melinda's leaving.
That's one strategy. Just
Well, she
go
put
on.
maybe anyway. Okay.
So, good afternoon. I am Frances White. I'm from the 10 Mile community. So, pretty much, I'll just say what I said in the email, that there's a lot of good goals and plans listed in the comprehensive plan. And I believe that it is critical that the Planning Commission supports and executes the goals and plans expressed in the plan, ensuring that subdivisions requests comply with the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. Specifically, comprehensive plan goals 2.2.1, land use element goal, comprehensive plan goal 2.2.4, cultural resources element goal, and the comprehensive plan goal 2.2.6, housing element goal, and ensuring that they communicate, that they contribute to smart growth. That's paramount to the success of Charleston County Comprehensive Plan and Charleston County as a whole. The words look great in the document and in theory, but that theory needs to be practiced and supported to achieve those goals that are talked about.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. George Freeman, 1450 Bowman Road, president of the CAGE organization, Community Action Group for Encouragement. What I'm here to speak on was not presented to you here today, but the section in the land use element where you talk about the African American communities, that's one of the reasons why I'm here today. Years ago, in the 7 Mile community, the community got together and agreed to what we call village commercial in the 7 Mile community. And there was an agreement to go 500 feet from Highway 17 into the community. When that agreement was made, the Highway 17 was 4 lanes in the 7 Mile community. So that automatically shifted, once it went to 6 lanes, that automatically shifted that 500 feet deeper into the community. That's something the community did not vote for. And something that was agreed upon at that time, but has been overlooked over time as rezoning has occurred in the area. The plan had additionally called for a road to be built at the end of that 500 feet in order to create a frontage road in the area so that the neighborhoods could get along. I don't think that's being discussed anymore, but that was part of the agreement. But the way that zoning has occurred in the area, it doesn't appear that that road is going to get built. So between the shifting, the road going to 6 lanes and pushing that 500 feet deeper into the community, and it looks like that frontage road is not going to be built, our recommendation from the CAGE organization is that 500 feet be reduced to 400 feet. Because the purpose was not to try to bring commercial into the community. It was to make it possible to have commercial in the area, but not continue to disrupt the community. So I was suggesting that 500 feet should be dropped to 400 feet and forget about the frontage road, because it doesn't appear that the people who have put things in the area have continued to put that into their plans to have a road in the back of their property. So that's mainly what I'm here today. Like I say, it's not something that's on your agenda today, but it's a concern that needs to be addressed. And since this is an update, we thought we'd come and make you aware of that in order to help protect the African American community. Thank you.
I have a question for you. Who is the agreement between?
When was this?
The agreement you keep referencing. Who are the parties to
This was
it?
agreed between the community and the county and the town of Mount Pleasant back when we had an organization, a committee called the Highway 17 Corridor Task Force. A lot of disagreements came out of that task force.
Okay.
So would that mean an update? Would that mean an update of the overlay district?
Yes, yeah. And we are working, and we've met with George. We're working with the town whenever we can have enough time to breathe, to try to work, to try to update the whole Mount Pleasant overlay district to address those issues.
Okay. John Zolgar, have you decided whether or not you want to speak?
John Zalogar, 5528 Frisco Lane. Hello, everyone. Actually, I'd like to address the motion that Commissioner Jones made relative to the forward, if you will. I think it's a great idea, but by the way, I actually do read the comp plan. I'm probably one of the 3 people out there that do read it. But I think really you should be looking at it as a letter from the commission to the public. And it really should be saying, look, I mean, she went through a huge number of inputs that you all got, right? I mean, I don't know if it's certainly hundreds. I don't know if it goes up to thousands. That basically, in my mind, it should say, we heard you. And we heard these were your 5 most important things. Not that, traffic, not traffic on Johns Island, but traffic, and that it's not coordinated with development, and we're worried about resiliency. I mean, it really should say, we heard you, and this is what we heard, and you're going to find in this document how we addressed it. So that would be my recommendation. Thank you very much.
Linda left. David Quick.
David Quick? He left, and Melinda Luca left? Okay, all right. So now we're going to vote on each element?
Yeah, if you're ready to, yeah.
Well, should we, okay.
Excuse me, sorry. I would like to speak to the energy element. I mean, I don't know how much time we have. I don't want to go over time here. I mean, you can vote for others, but please, I want to make an address in relation to the energy element before we vote.
Is the energy element on here?
Yes, it is.
Okay, can you wait till we get to the energy element?
Okay, well,
Where is it?
We're going to vote on each element.
okay, well,
Is it
Please
up there?
also vote on the vision and all the other chapters outside of just the elements, because there were some minor changes made to some of those.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you.
Make sure that, in addition to the elements, there are other chapters of the plan that need to be voted upon, where there are amendments like to the vision, Chapter 2, some changes in Chapter 1 that Monica had gone over, and then
You wanna
Chapter
just
4.
Start at slide 40, Monica. Is it 40? Wait a minute, where am I here?
42 is, I remember seeing
Where it
something.
says part 1, not 40. The table of let's just go through the table of contents and the vision. I gotta see what slide number, it's not coming up here.
Yeah, I can't get.
Oh, it is, it does say 40 of 72.
Where?
Right there.
Oh, if you touch it.
Okay.
Monica, can you pull up the presentation?
40 of 72, okay.
Yeah, there you go.
While we're waiting on that, can I ask a quick question about the overlay district at 7 Mile with the road that he discussed in the back? Was that something that was part of the overlay district that was a requirement that as development happens, they would develop that road? Or is it just not something that was ever funded with county money? Because we've applied a similar thing on Maybank Highway right, to hold back a certain footage on the backside of the properties along Maybank Highway to accommodate a future road, which would be a backage road in that case. And it sounds like if we've tried that, I just want to get clear, if we tried that before and it's failed, we may need to go back and readjust what we did on the Maybank Highway overlay.
So the Maybank Highway one got, like you said, Mr. McConnell, we kind of learned as we went through. The Maybank Highway one looks like is being a little more successful because there are incentives built in to that overlay district. And most of the folks that are developing on Maybank Highway on Johns Island, they want to take advantage of those incentives. And so as a requirement, even if they're not connected to the road, they have to plat out the 50-foot right-of-way where the road would be built in the future. And we've had several projects go through the county where that has occurred and is occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But did that
And the
happen
Mount
7
Pleasant
Mile?
one, we didn't get into in our overlay with the county, we didn't get into that kind of detail of requiring that there be actual right-of-way platted. And I agree with Mr. Freeman, at this point, so much has been developed now that probably the reality of trying to get that backage road in that section of the overlay would probably be pretty futile, but we can start addressing the size of that area for non-residential and maybe even the uses, and that's what we need to talk to with the town and the new overlay about. Yeah, more and more of those parcels that are in the Mount Pleasant overlay in that area, it's shrinking county jurisdiction-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So really, we need to be sure that the town is on board with whatever changes that we agree to.
Would you pin that new distance to the center line of the road rather than some back of curb measurement so that would stop the adjustment? Would that make sense?
I think in the area, I mean, we could. I think in the area that was discussed, I mean, I don't want to say there'll never be another widening of 17, but that was a pretty substantial widening. I can't imagine there'll be another one soon, but we can look at that. Yeah. All right. Introduction and background. Everyone good? We'll just go through each section, if you don't mind. I know this is the boring part of codification, but we do need to get everyone's. Let's do the easy stuff.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're going to vote on
Yeah.
the table of contents?
Table of contents.
Okay.
The changes.
Is there a motion to approve?
Can I make a motion to approve the table of contents, the vision, and the Part 4 additional resources and references, and Appendix A? Can we do it all at once, or we need to do it separately?
However y'all want it. Yeah.
Motion to approve all
A second.
four of those.
All right.
Okay, so that's.
It's a motion to approve the table of contents, Part 1, introduction and background, Part 2, vision, Part 4, additional resources and references, and Appendix A.
Correct.
And the appendix?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Commissioner Logan Davis? Commissioner Marlena Davis?
Aye.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Kent?
Aye, and congratulations on reducing the vision statement down. Something that's, whoever did that, kudos to them.
Did you know that was our most commented feedback that we got when we did the initial request for comments? Was all about the vision statement.
Commissioner McConnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Aye.
Commissioner Pilatos?
Aye.
And Commissioner Cox? Aye. The ayes have it.
We're going to go to land use, right? That's the next, yeah, slide 53. Oh, there you go. You got it. 53. Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve on the condition for land use strategy number 4, on the second line right before elevation, say flood elevation. I think that might be a little more clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Is there a second,
Second.
including the amendment? Okay.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Platos, and Commissioner Cox.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
The land use element?
Anything else on the land use? That was the land use.
Oh, I
We
thought
just
that was
voted
just
on
the
land use.
Okay, what about, okay. I thought there was like 2 sections of land use.
Well, it's just 2 different slides, same element.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, have we already voted on the land use?
Yeah, but you can make another motion.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else on the land use element?
Okay.
Notice.
I'd like to move that the bonus densities be coordinated so that each agricultural district, Ag 8, Ag 10, and Ag 15, are exempted from the bonus densities. Okay. That's it.
Do we need, that needs a second?
Yeah. If that's the motion.
Okay.
Sorry?
Is that on here somewhere? Is
No,
that?
it's not.
No.
She's talking about the element in general.
You wish to add that? Yes, so I'll second.
Okay. So,
Can I ask a question, being a little unfamiliar with what it is you're asking?
okay. If you subdivide the,
Density,
The
pull
de-
up the density, yeah, how about if we pull up the density table?
That'd be my.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
And, yeah.
Okay, in the ag areas, there's Ag 10, Ag 15, Ag 8. Ag 8 is the only one that has a bonus density in the subdivision. So I want to make everything consistent across all the agricultural.
And what
Zoning.
would trigger the bonus density? Is that a special exception or?
No, either through rezoning. So the comp plan has a range of recommended densities for all of our zoning districts, basically.
Right.
And I believe Ms. Floyd is making the motion that in the agricultural districts, that there is no longer a range. So she's making the motion that it stay, if it's Ag 15, it stays 1 dwelling unit per 15 acres, and that's it. Strike out the ability to go to 7, 1 dwelling unit per 7.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so forth. Ag 10, and here's the, we'll pull up.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Sorry.
So there's the table and the comp plan.
So really just one of them that's Ag 8 has it, and that's one density.
No, it's all, on all the ag districts. So we have AG 10 that has a range from 1 dwelling unit per 10 acres to one dwelling unit per 5 acres. So through a planned development request, someone could request and get a recommendation of approval from staff and go on for recommendation for planning commission for 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, and it could be consistent with the comprehensive plan. If that's removed, then going to a higher density of 1 dwelling unit per 10 acres would no longer be consistent with the comp plan.
And the reason is we're trying to maintain the rural nature of the county and try to encourage as much agriculture as possible. So I think by taking away the bonus densities, that goal would be achieved. Sorry.
Reducing density, I'm all for it. Thank you. Reducing density, I'm all for it.
Okay.
And all the ag districts.
In the ag districts. Okay. Is there?
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay.
So Warwick,
Okay.
Warwick's second.
Okay. Any discussion?
All right. Commissioner Logan Davis,
Nay.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Pilatos,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Okay. Thank you for helping me state that. Okay, economic development element.
I make a motion that we approve, but strike out the first part of work with existing industries to increase hourly wages and salaries in the region.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Go ahead and call the roll, please.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Pilatos,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Okay. Natural resources element.
I make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll call the roll.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Pilatos, Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Okay. Cultural resources.
Approve as submitted. Motion to approve as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Pilatos, Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Population element.
Move to approve as submitted.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Logan Davis, Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell, Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Pilatos, and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Housing element.
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis, Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell, Commissioner Morris, and Commissioner Pilatos, and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Transportation element.
Move to approve.
Hold on.
Okay.
But the,
Mr. Warwick.
I did make some suggestions in relation to changing the figures to millions instead of having all the decimal points. Do I need to add that, or was it going to happen anyhow?
You want to move to, there's a motion and a second to accept it, and you want to amend the motion?
Well, I want to amend that the figures be reduced to simple millions, 6.1 million or whatever, instead of 389.52.120.
And 20 cents.
20 cents or whatever.
There's one in there that says 20 cents.
No. It's a long afternoon.
Okay. All right, so you want to round off the amounts instead of,
Well, I don't know maybe it happens in the rest of the plan, but I would suggest that that be applied if it is used in the rest of the plan.
is there a second to the amendment?
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. So do we just vote on that? How do we do this?
So then the current motion on the floor, it is that the original motion then as amended by Commissioner Jones to change the dollar figures.
Commissioner Logan Davis, Commissioner Marlena Davis, Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Platos, and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Okay. The community facilities element,
Move for approval.
that should be an easy one.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis, Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell, Commissioner Morris, Commissioner Platos, and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Okay, here we
Energy and sustainability.
go. Move as approved.
Energy and sustainability.
Hey, what happened to priority
Priority
investment?
investment.
Oh, yeah,
What?
right, priority investment is right.
Yeah, I missed that one,
Yeah.
okay. Priority investment implementation and coordination element.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just for simplicity, we're going to assume that that means the reference to the table in the later slides, that the work plan, the annual work plan, which is in the priority investment. So we don't have to go back to that.
Okay. All right, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis,
Aye.
Chair Floyd,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Kent,
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell,
Aye.
Commissioner Morris,
Aye.
Commissioner Platos,
Aye.
and Commissioner Cox. The ayes have it.
Energy and sustainability element.
You were going to move to approve it as is, right?
You're pulling my leg, of course.
Move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Logan
Discussion?
Davis. Yeah.
Yeah, any comments?
Oh, yeah. Comments? No comments? on
No
this?
comments? Ooh, all right, call the roll.
No.
No. Who had a comment?
I'm waiting
What
for
do
the
you-
chair to indicate. Okay, I'll make a comment. I've got a big comment to
Okay,
make.
go.
Good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Why I am voting no for the inclusion of the energy element. My opinion has not changed since I last addressed the issue. To recapitulate, the state does not require an energy element in the comprehensive plan. Further, it mandates that utilities cannot be bounded or restricted by a comprehensive plan of any municipality. Energy generation is dictated by federal policy and to a lesser extent state policy. Counties have virtually no say, so why do we put it into the comprehensive plan? To my knowledge, no other county does, and there is no power station in the county. Okay, moving now to the content of the element. The staff has taken what I'd quote, a global view of energy in the element. It is not confined to Charleston County, but to the nation. I think the global view is out of place, but if it is to endure, it needs to be discussed objectively and without bias. The energy element as written by staff on the perceived evil of greenhouse gas emissions and the necessity of renewables to replace hydrocarbon generation. In essence, it is the Green Movement's policy, a policy refuted by many scientists and described by one as the biggest public delusion and the most costly fraud in history. The element begins with a percentage contribution of each gas to the total greenhouse gas emissions. But it does not give what is relevant, the concentration of each gas in the atmosphere. CO2 is about 1 molecule per 2,400 other molecules, essentially nitrogen and oxygen. Methane concentration is 1 molecule per over 500,000 other molecules, again, essentially nitrogen and oxygen. Nitrous oxide, wicked nitrous oxide, is 1 million molecule for 3 million other molecules. Not frightening proportions, to say the least, and those concentrations are responsible for global warming. The contribution of greenhouse gases to global warming and sea level rise may be debatable, but what isn't is. Global temperatures have been rising over the last 25,000 years, accompanied by rising sea levels. This trend may not be over. The Earth's temperature and atmospheric carbon dioxide level have been much higher in the past than at present. In geological terms, sea rise has been quick over the last 25,000 years. 7,000 years ago, England was joined to Europe and there was no English Channel. There were once land bridges to Alaska from Asia and from Asia to Australia. Finally, none of the so-called greenhouse gases are toxic. CO2 is essential to life on Earth. It has been estimated that global crop yields have increased because of the higher atmospheric concentration, some as much as 20%. But moving back to the staff written element, there are no projections or history of demand or supply of electricity in the county or the state, no inventory of existing power stations, no comment on planned shutdowns or expansion, no analysis of cost, no comment on the shortcomings of renewables. Some of the figures need attention. For staff, 310.2, confusing heading, and 310.3 needs updating. Then there is the comments ignored made by many citizens who raise questions about costs. Complementary to the focus on greenhouse gas emissions is a recommendation for solar and wind power to replace fossil fuel generation. The element correctly recognizes the low cost of generation by renewables but ignores the extra cost of adding to the grid. There is no comment about the problems associated with these renewable sources. Land use for solar, 200,000 acres in South Carolina if all generation were replaced with solar, 2 million acres for New York City, and then also the technical problems that is bedeviling offshore wind power. But the biggest problem is when the sun doesn't shine or the wind fails to blow. It does not matter what the capacity might be of a solar or wind power unit. Without sunshine or wind, electricity output is zero. A community that relies on renewables alone to generate electricity is taking a risk of frequent outages. In South Carolina, it would be a foolish risk. The days and nights over our summer are hot and humid. Air conditioning is necessary on many days for 24 hours. AC draws considerable electricity. If the sun does not shine, and the burden would fall on wind power, and if it exists. But what if there is no wind? No matter what the rated capacities, no wind, no sunshine, no electricity. Batteries may be utilized to extend the power for a few hours, but at a cost. For households with roof panels, their solar-generated electricity is unlikely to be sufficient to drive AC units. A draw from the grid would be necessary. So much for the independence touted by the energy element. The practical solution for renewable generation is backup generation by coal or natural gas of similar capacity. The cost of a gas plant would probably be similar to that of a solar unit. The average tariff for electricity in South Carolina is about 110 per megawatt hour. If renewables were to provide all electricity coupled with backup gas, I would guess the tariff would be at least approach California's level of about $250 per megawatt hour. As an aside, Lazards, the investment bank considered expert in these things, calculates the levelized cost of electricity for rooftop panels at 117 to 282 per megawatt hour. What is this? That is, what is LCOE? It is simply the cost of producing a unit of electricity, taking into account both the initial capital cost and the subsequent working costs. With South Carolina rooftop household tariff of about $140 a megawatt hour, the economic benefit of rooftop solar panels is slight, if at all. Importantly, there is no comment in the element on the economic impact of achieving net zero greenhouse emissions or achieving the federal government electric vehicle targets. The potential impact is very great. I doubt that net zero is achievable, but only if partly productions of fertilizers, plastics, road surfacing, and distillate would be curbed with drastic national economic impact. Similarly, achievement of EV production targets will require large investment in generation, but for the grid as well. Conclusion, the world as we know it is not about to end. Solar panels and wind turbines may have a place in the state's electricity generation, but they cannot fully replace fossil fuel generation. The unit cost of electricity generation by renewables is low, but the cost of connection and distribution by the grid is significant. To ensure uninterrupted supply, coal and gas generation should be added. How much depends on the climate, but industry comments suggest that it's equal to 70–90% of the rated capacity of renewable source plant, and the addition of standby gas or coal plants will certainly push electricity tariffs above present levels. I would not normally recommend the inclusion in the comprehensive plan of the future role of hydrocarbons and renewables in the U.S. economy, but staff has introduced the subject and the PC is happy for its inclusion. Then a full and unbiased commentary should follow, not that of the element as presented. That's it. Thanks.
You have a motion in a second.
We do?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? All right, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Logan Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis.
Sorry, what are we voting on?
The motion is to approve the energy and sustainability element, and that's
Nay.
a second. Nay? Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell? Commissioner Morris? Commissioner Pilatos? And Commissioner Cox?
Aye.
The ayes have it.
The resilience element?
Move to approve with the inclusion of a future sea level rise map somewhere embedded in there.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Logan Davis?
Aye.
Commissioner Marlena Davis?
Aye.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell? Commissioner Morris? Commissioner Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox? The ayes have it.
Now we move to the proposed revisions for annual work plan.
Yeah, I mean, I asked the question earlier, that we kind of, the priority investment references this. So if you all want to make another motion to adopt this, that's fine, but I'm going to take that as this has been adopted when you adopted the priority investment.
Okay.
Yep.
Mark,
Unless you want to do
is
that.
that okay? Okay, all right. So we don't have to vote on those?
No.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Yahoo!
So we've got, just to recap, we've got the changes. Land use 4, we're going to add flood. Also, and there was another change in one of the land use things. Hopefully someone else took better notes than I did.
Those are the residential densities.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, residential, yes. The ag densities.
Ag densities,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then the resilience element, we're going to add a map. And we're also going to change, in the transportation element, those numbers to approximations. Yeah.
And then make the change to the economic development element, strategy 9, to strike through, work with existing industries to increase wages. Strike through that. And then we will get the forward and bring the forward back next time.
Bring forward.
Bring forward.
All right. County Council will hear this request at their public hearing February 13th, 2024 at 6:30 PM in council chambers. And again, at their February 22nd, 2024 Planning and Public Works Committee meeting at 5 PM. The request must then undergo 3 readings for approval at council's discretion. Okay, and then the last item on the agenda is the chair's remark, and I don't have anything further to say.
Is that meeting adjourned?
Yep. Motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor? Our next meeting will be Monday, January the 8th at 2 PM in council chambers.
Lordy.
I guess there are no minutes.